Fresh Start with Amy Sherman is made possible in part by the Live Healthy series, a community outreach program from Metro Health Hospital in Wyoming.
Brought to you by Metro Health's Live Healthy series. I'm your chef and host, Amy Sherman. What brings you out to the Fresh Start Kitchen today?
Well, I go to Wyoming Park. I'm in a video production class and we work with WKTV.
You work with WKTV? That's why they're here. WKTV is one of the sponsors of our show, Fresh Start, and I'd love to welcome all of my junior and seniors from Wyoming Park High School here today. We have a great show planned. We're actually making family dinner, and this is a dinner that my teen friends can make for their families, which would be a real help to their moms and dads. We're going to start off with dessert today, actually. Puddings that are full of calcium, both peanut butter and chocolate, that we're going to layer up in some cups and top with some decadent whipped cream. Then we're going to move on to some fresh and healthy turkey meatballs that are baked in the oven instead of fried. We're serving those with some whole grain pasta and some fresh tomato sauce. And then we're also going to have a friendly kid kind of salad that has apples, cherries, walnuts, and a really nice sweet and creamy dressing that has maple syrup in it. So it all sounds really good, doesn't it, guys? Now, I'm not going to lie to you. All these great healthy dishes are great, but the best part of any family meal is, of course, dessert. And that's one thing that I know really well since I was a pastry chef for so long. And these chocolate peanut butter puddings are spectacular. They are just as good as any heavy whipping cream pâte de crème that I've ever made. The beautiful thing about these is that they are based on 2% milk. So the main ingredient in these puddings is milk, not heavy cream and not eggs. So that instantly lowers the fat content. But what milk does is it gives your family a big dose of calcium and vitamin D, things that growing bones in young kids really, really need a lot of, and most likely your kids are not getting enough of. So this is a fun, friendly way to really give them a huge dose of calcium. Not only that, they taste amazing. Okay, so we have a layer of peanut butter pudding on the bottom, and we're using a natural peanut butter in there, so that has a lot of protein in it, which is good. And then on the top, it has chocolate pudding. And dark chocolate has lots of benefits health-wise, but really it just tastes good. That's why we're putting it in there. And then we can put all that in the fridge. So we can make this the day before, or maybe at lunchtime when the kids are at school, pop it into the fridge and let it chill, or your kids can make it the night before. It's a great one for that, and let it chill, and then it's all ready for dessert that night. Make sure you set a couple aside for yourself to have later when the kids have gone to bed, because it is so tasty. You're just going to love, love, love this dessert. To get started with on our dessert, can you believe we get to have dessert first? That's why we like the Fresh Start Kitchen. We're going to make two kinds of pudding. We have a peanut butter pudding and a chocolate pudding. And the base of these puddings, this is why this is such a great dessert for us here in the Fresh Start Kitchen, is they start with 2% milk. And milk is so good for your bodies. It's loaded with calcium, which growing bones need, and most kids don't get enough of. And a lot of us don't like to just drink milk. So this is a good, fun way to incorporate more calcium in your diet. There really isn't a lot of added fat in these puddings either. They're not based on eggs, they're not based on butter, and they're not based on whipping cream. They're based on milk, so they're pretty good. What thickens these puddings, however, is cornstarch. And cornstarch is a great product. It thickens automatically when it reaches a certain temperature, and it's going to make everything come together beautifully, and then we flavor it with our peanut butter or with our chocolate. So in our pot here, we already have our sugar, a little bit of sugar, a little bit of cornstarch, and a little bit of salt. And salt is really important when you're making a dessert because it helps balance the flavors. And if you don't have salt in your dessert, you're going to taste it and go, that doesn't taste right. It tastes a little bit flat. And we want to have a nice balance of flavor. So salt is important in baked goods. So this one's the peanut butter one. Can you tell me exactly how much milk it needs? I believe it's 2 cups.
Yeah, 2 cups in there.
Okay, so 2 cups. You could use a whole milk if that's what you have. You could probably use a skim milk, although I'm against skim. I'm against skim milk. And see how I'm just whisking all this together till it's nice and smooth is what we want to do. And if you add just a little bit of milk to start, it'll whisk together smoother than if you dump it all in at once. And we don't want to have lumps, so. Okay, then we can add the rest. Beautiful. Okay, I'm going to give this to you then. You're going to whisk. And just kind of give it a nice slow stir. And then if you want to bring your chocolate pudding over here, we'll put that into, and that's 2.5 cups, is that right? No, it's still 2 cups, right? I think I made them both the same. 2 cups. 2 cups of milk. So why don't we just, we'll pour in just a little bit and you whisk that together till it's nice and smooth. And this one has a little bit of cocoa powder in it as well to add to that chocolatey flavor. Cocoa powder is a great addition because there's no fat in cocoa powder. For this chocolate pudding, you could choose to use either a bittersweet chocolate, which is what we're using today. This is a 60% cocoa chocolate, so it's got a really good flavor to it. It's not overly sweet, but you could also use the milk chocolate if you wanted to, which would be equally nice. And it's going to be a little bit more on the sweet side then. This is essentially a pudding Reese's peanut butter cup. What did I say to you earlier? Because they go together, peanut butter and chocolate. Is this one starting to thicken a little bit?
Yeah.
Can you feel it a little bit?
Yeah.
It's pretty, cornstarch is a pretty amazing product, the way it thickens like that. So here's our block of chocolate. We're putting 4 ounces of chocolate in. And each one of these squares is going to be 1/2 ounce. So we're going to use the whole thing. And I'm just going to kind of chop this up a little bit so that it will melt quicker into our pudding. And it won't take quite as much time. So just kind of break it up. You don't need to melt it ahead of time because it will just melt into your pudding automatically. And our peanut butter is going to melt in there too. We're using a natural peanut butter today because it has less sugar. So this is the type of peanut butter that is just peanuts and salt that they've ground together. There's no hydrogenated oils and there's no added sugar, which is going to be a nice complement to the sugar we already have in our stuff. So we can probably crank up this heat a little bit more. Get busy with these, right? One good thing about cornstarch too, unlike eggs, it's not going to scramble and cause it to get all icky and broken. It's going to be a nice smooth mix. The only thing that can happen if you don't whisk it enough is you'll get kind of little bits of chunks in it, but they'll eventually dissolve, unlike an egg, which is it'll ruin if you cooked it over a really high heat. So we're going to add our natural peanut butter to our peanut butter pudding. It's getting nice and thick. It's bubbling. Once you see your pudding boil, that means it's going to be pretty much as thick as it's going to get, because it's reached the correct temperature. So we're going to put in our peanut butter and stir it in. Yummy. And then we're going to add a little bit of vanilla extract. And that's going to give it a nice balance of flavor. And just whisk that together so it's all mixed in. And you can see, if you can see how this is bubbling, and how thick it is now compared to when we started. It's thick and creamy, kind of unctuous, right? And then it's going to thicken up even more as it chills, which is what we want. That looks pretty good, I think. Okay, there we go. So we're going to pour some of this into our glasses. Not too much because we're going to put some of the chocolate on top. Okay. Put a little bit more in there. And then we're going to put the chocolate one on top. So at home, you could use wine glasses, or if you have a special, little sundae glass, that'd be really cute. Something that's clear so you can see the different layers in it is kind of a neat way to serve it. How's that looking? We got some thickness now? Oh yeah, you got some. That looks good. Okay, I'm going to give you the chocolate, and if you could just whisk that in. So here's our chocolate, 4 ounces of a bittersweet chocolate, or like I said earlier, you can certainly use a milk chocolate. There we go. And then we just whisk that together. And I'm going to turn off the heat on that, because when you add a regular chocolate bar to anything on the stove, it can burn really easily. Chocolate can burn really easily and become very bitter. So we don't want to have a real high heat on that when we're doing that. We want to just let it melt on its own. It's already hot enough to do that. You can probably already feel it. Is it already almost gone? Yeah. It's like magic, right? So as soon as it's totally smooth, then we'll just pour a little bit on top of these, and then we'll pop them in the fridge. And they just have to chill for maybe like an hour. It shouldn't take too long, although they certainly could chill overnight, and they could be served the next day all ready to go. So it's something you could make ahead of time for a party if you were going to have a party. Feel good? Okay, let's pour it on top. It looks awesomely chocolate. See how cute that is. Oops. All right, why don't we put these in the fridge right behind you, ladies? Thank you.
It's okay.
It's okay, you just smashed me in the face. There we go, and our puddings are just gonna sit there, like I said, for about an hour, and then we'll be ready to have them. So we're gonna put this stuff away, and we're gonna get started on our turkey meatballs next. Spaghetti and meatballs is a great family meal, but if you're buying everything pre-made, it can sometimes be a little bit unhealthy. The good thing about making it yourself is you control what goes into your food. With these turkey meatballs, we're not only using a healthier meat. Instead of beef or pork, we're going to use turkey, so it's got a much lower level of fat. We're not using the ultra lean turkey though. We're going to use the 93% turkey. So it's got a little bit of fat in it, but that's okay. We're going to use that to lower the fat, and then we're going to spice it up a little bit by using some prepared pesto. This helps us out tremendously because we don't have to chop any garlic, any onions, any basil, parsley. We don't even have to grate any cheese because it's all already in the pesto. So we can just put a couple scoops of that into our meatballs, and it's going to season and flavor them really nicely. The other trick with our meatballs, and this is the most important trick, is that we are not going to fry these meatballs. That's usually what makes meatballs a little bit more unhealthy because you're adding all that extra oil to fry them in. Plus, you as the chef are wasting all this time standing there using your tongs to turn the meatballs back and forth to make sure that they're brown all the way around. This is something where we're going to take our meatballs, we're going to scoop them out, put them on a sheet tray, and pop them into a nice hot 400-degree oven. And 20 minutes later, they're going to be finished. And we're not going to have to touch them, turn them, do anything to them. And they're going to be beautiful, low-fat meatballs. You can use your own tomato sauce in this recipe, and that's going to add a lot of vitamin C as well as lycopene, which is all good stuff for your body. But then the other trick to this dish is instead of using a regular white flour pasta, which is kind of a not so good for you carb choice, we're going to use a whole grain pasta. This is going to increase our fiber, our protein, lots of vitamins and nutrients because it's a whole grain pasta. And I'm going to tell you right now, your kids are not going to know the difference. So don't tell them, don't slip up and tell them because it's going to taste awesome. They're going to love it, and you're going to have a much healthier dish for your family meal. To make our turkey meatballs, we start with, guess what?
What?
Turkey. How did you know, right? What we have here is a lean blend of ground turkey. This isn't the leanest. There's one that's called extra, extra lean, and it's like 99% lean. We don't want that kind. We want the 93% lean turkey. So we want a little bit of fat in there, but it's just a little bit. It's still better than what ground beef would have. And you can get this at any grocery store. It comes already ground and all ready to roll. So we've got that. And then kind of the secret ingredient in my meatballs, whether they're turkey or they're pork or they're beef, is fresh breadcrumbs. Now this is not the type of breadcrumbs that you get in a can that are all pulverized and really, really dry. These are, you can feel it's just fresh bread that's been grated by my friend Lauren. She grated it all for me. And Austin. And we're going to soak that in milk. And that is kind of a traditional way to add moisture to your meatballs. You can also do this with meatloaf if you're going to make that. Anytime you're going to use some ground beef, this is a good way to add some moisture. And so you just kind of toss it up and let it kind of soak together. You're going to be able to add a little bit more. No, I think that's probably good. So feel how that is. It's not, we don't want it soaking wet. And if it's too wet, you want to squeeze out all that extra moisture. But it's just a little bit wet. Okay. So those are our meatballs. We're going to put those in there. And there should be another spoon over there if you want to start start mixing that in. Okay, and then our other secret ingredient, and this is one that I picked just to make it easier for my teenage friends to make dinner, and this is prepared pesto. This is a pesto that we can just buy in a jar at the store. Lots of times I make my pesto, but that can be a little bit difficult if you've not cooked before. So this has got the basil in it, it's got fresh parsley in it, it's got lots and lots of garlic in it, and Parmesan cheese. So those are all things that you would put in your meatballs anyway, but this way you don't have to do all the work. You can just dump in the pesto. Just pour some of that in. And it's gonna make our meatballs really, 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 really flavorful without having to do a lot of work. And then we're gonna crack this egg in there, and that's our binder. That's what holds everything together in the meatball. Excellent cracking.
Thank you.
You give a future as a short order cook. No, I'm teasing. And some fresh ground pepper, because that's some more seasoning. Okay, here we go. And just a little bit of salt, not too much, because the pesto already has some salt in it. Oh, I'm on the wrong side. So just a tiny bit of salt, maybe. There we go. Okay, now, You guys are in high school, so you probably will want to use the spoon, but at home, when you're not on television, if you want to just stick your hands in there and squish it up, you totally can, and that's fine. And it's really going to make a more cohesive meatball if you do that. Plus, it's just fun. So feel free if you want. And then instead of frying our meatballs, we are going to bake them. Those meatballs look really good. They're really well mixed. I can tell that it's all nicely together. So what we're going to do instead of frying our meatballs, which one, you have to add a lot of extra fat in the form of oil in your pan to get them to not stick and stuff. You also have to stand there and turn them over and over and over again, and it wastes all this time. So instead, we're going to bake them in the oven all at once. We're going to use a little bit of pan spray on our sheet tray. And then we're just going to make our meatballs. So I like to use an ice cream scoop in my meatballs because it makes it easier and I don't have to get my hands all funky. So we're just going to scoop it up like this. And then what I do is I do use my hands a little bit just to kind of make sure they're all together. So I'll kind of roll it just a little bit so there's not like little Klingons, and then just set them out like this. Okay, so if you want to try, give it a scoop. Just press it up against the side of the pan.
Like that?
Yep, you can give it to me or to you. Go, you do it, you do it. Get your hands gross. And then just real gentle. You'll feel how soft it is.
Oh, yeah.
So you don't have to squish. But it's so much easier this way. And if you want, I mean, if you start to get really fast when you're at home and you're feeling chefy, you can scoop them all out, kind of, and then go back and kind of roll them all faster. Or that's what you make your younger brother do, is the rolling. So go ahead and keep scooping, and I'll help roll. And then these are going to go into a pretty hot oven, about 400 degrees, 425, and you're going to blast them in there for about 20 to 25 minutes. You want them to turn nice and brown on the outside, but I do always take one and cut it in half to make sure that it's finished cooking all the way through. We're just going to put our meatballs into our hot oven, about 400 degrees. Nice, thank you. And these will go for about 20 to 25 minutes, and then they should be ready to go. Our apple salad has a really great kid-friendly dressing on it. It's based on maple syrup, which is a natural sweetener, so you don't have to worry about all the high fructose corn syrup that would come in a prepared dressing. That's why this dressing is nice. You can make it ahead of time. You can store it in your fridge, so when you have the need, you can pour it out just like a store-bought dressing, but then you can control the ingredients that are in it. Kids are going to love this because it's really creamy and it's a touch sweet because of that maple syrup. It also has Greek yogurt in it as the creamy base instead of a mayonnaise base. So this reduces the calorie count as well as ups the protein and the calcium that's in this dressing. So it is really a healthy dressing. To put it on our salad, we have mixed greens, some apples, which kids always like, and then we have some dried cherries as well as some walnuts. So we're getting really crunchy, sweet things as well as chewy cherries, and then the crunchy nuts. And walnuts are great because they have a lot of vitamin E as well as folic acid and fiber in them. All these things together make a delicious salad that's well balanced and that kids are going to really enjoy. Salad is a great thing to include in your diet, but I know that in our family it's the hardest thing to include in our diet. Do you guys like salad?
I love salad.
Hey, all right, well then you can come eat at my house any day. This is a salad that I made up because it's kind of kid-friendly in the sense that it has apples in it, which everybody seems to like, right? It has other fruit in it as well in this form of dried cherries, which are yummy, delicious. They're chewy, they're sweet, they taste great, and they're a Michigan product, so we like to include those in our menus. And then we have some toasted walnuts, which adds a little bit of crunch, and it's all over some mixed greens. So just any kind of lettuce that you happen to like. I like the mixed greens because it comes already washed and prepared. But then the great thing about this salad is it has a kind of a sweet and creamy dressing on it, but it's something that I am controlling the sugar that's in it. Most of the salad dressings that are on the market that you get from the grocery store, actually there's second and first ingredient. First ingredient will be oil, and not a good oil, not like an extra virgin. And then the second ingredient will be high fructose corn syrup, which is sugar, and it's bad sugar. It's not even a good sugar for you. So our dressing today includes a form of sugar, but it's a good sugar. We have a maple syrup, which is a natural product, so your body digests it differently, as well as honey. And both of these are not going to give you the super big sugar rush that high fructose corn syrup can give you. And since it's a natural product, it's not processed the same, so it's just better for your body. And we can control how much we put in, so that's kind of nice when you make your own dressing. And this is a dressing that we can make and we can keep in the fridge and have it on hand when we want to have a dressing or we want to make a dip for our vegetables. It's already ready to go. It will keep in the fridge for about 2 weeks and it's not going to go bad. So why don't we start with our salad? And what we want to do is we can decide how to cut our vegetables up and do it kind of however we want. But I kind of like in a salad to cut my apple in like a matchsticks kind of shape, which is just kind of fun. I like to keep the peel on my apple because it has more fiber and more vitamins in it with the peel on. And since we're going to cut it up so small, it's fine to do it that way. And so for this, I'm going to cut another slice in it like that, so it's, you know, pretty thin. And then we can cut nice thin little strips. It's just fun to eat this way. Like if we had great big chunks, it tastes a little bit different. And we want to have nice light bits of apple all through our salad. So you can cut the rest of your apple. And one thing to think about with these apples, and if it's giving you a really hard time, you for sure can flip that skin part over because the skin is a little bit tougher to cut, so it can be a little bit hard. There, and we have that pretty nice sliced apple. And then if you want to take our walnuts are a great thing to incorporate in your diet. Not only do they have a lot of fiber, but they also have vitamin E, which is a really good thing for your body, as well as folic acid. It's something that helps your brain develop. So especially when you're young, it's good to have a lot of folic acid. And so we're going to put these out, and I'm going to have you just kind of give them a nice chop. We don't want to have enormous chunks of walnut in our salad. We want to have, you know, manageable chunks of walnut. So you can run your knife through these. And we toasted our walnuts already, which is really important to do, because you don't know how old your nuts are when you purchase them at the store, and so they might be stale. And so you want to make sure that you toast them to bring out those natural oils and all the wonderful flavor of the almond, or the walnut, sorry. Almonds would be good in this too, but that's not what we're using today. So here's our mixed greens. It's already been cleaned, rinsed, spun. It's all ready to go. Whatever is freshest is going to be best. We have our cherries that we're going to put in there. We have some of our apple. We're going to dress this right away, so it's okay that we cut our apple. If I was going to maybe make this and serve it later, I would put my apple in some water with lemon juice in it, and that would keep the apple from oxidizing. We don't want it to oxidize, because then it turns brown and it's not as appealing to look at. So while you guys do that, and you can sprinkle in your walnuts whenever you're done, we're going to make the dressing as well. The base of our dressing, remember how I said it was creamy, is Greek yogurt, which we love in this class and we use almost every class because it has double the protein and double the calcium of a regular yogurt. But especially in a case like this, when I want a creamy dressing and I don't want to use mayonnaise because that's a really high fat option, you can use the Greek yogurt and it's going to have the same consistency. Look at how beautifully thick that is. It's just so thick that it's going to have the same consistency as a mayonnaise. A little bit of a tangier flavor, but none of the bad fat that mayonnaise has, okay? So we have that. Then we have our maple syrup and a little bit of champagne vinegar. Now say you don't have champagne vinegar, that's fine. You could use a rice vinegar, that's a very neutral vinegar. You could also use a white wine vinegar. And some maple syrup. We're gonna whisk this till it's really nice and smooth. We're gonna add some honey from our friends the bees. This is again a little bit more sweetness, because sometimes maple syrup isn't super, super sweet. Come on out, little honey. Slow moving out of my bear. Here it comes. So just a little bit of honey. Okay. Fresh ground pepper. And some salt. And once all of that is put together, then you can start to add your oil to create a little bit of an emulsion. And that's when it gets thick. A little bit of salt. All right, we're going to add our oil in. And this is going to create our emulsion. It's going to thicken up as the oil binds to our other ingredients. And that's going to help it cling to our salad. And this is, you can tell how much, I'm making a lot of dressing here. So we're definitely going to have some left over to put on a salad later in the week, which is kind of nice. Okay. And that's extra virgin olive oil, the good kind. That's a good fat. That's a fat that's good for your body, good for your hair and your skin. Okay, so now we're gonna taste it. Oh, it's pretty good. Give it a taste. Give me a dip. I think it needs a little bit of salt. Maybe a little bit more pepper. Not good? A little bit sweet, a little bit creamy. Pretty tasty, eh?
Yeah.
All right, there's our beautiful dressing. We'll get ready to put it on our salad next. We're gonna finish off our delicious chocolate peanut butter puddings with a little bit of naughtiness, and that would be the whipped cream. And it has a little bit of powdered sugar in it just to make it on the sweet side. And you can put a little dollop on top of each one when you're ready to serve it. That is awesome, ladies. These look so good. I can't wait to try them. Perfect. That whipped cream is perfectly whipped, holding some peaks, but it's not over whipped where it's turned into butter. Okay, great. All right, ladies. Well, I'd like to thank everyone from Wyoming Park High School for joining me today in the Fresh Start Kitchen while we helped make dinner for our parents and families. Some really good food, I think, today, and I can't wait to start with my favorite course, dessert, right now. So let's give it a try. Nice job. You guys might take over my position soon. Thanks again for joining me in the Fresh Start Kitchen. I hope to see you again really soon.
Fresh Start with Amy Sherman is made possible in part by the Live Healthy Series, a community outreach program from Metro Health Hospital in Wyoming.